long ago, and it happened far away. The moral of the story has been lost until today. Although we shouldn't let the past complicate the now, we wrap a stack of artifacts that help us show us how. Whatnot hopes and soggy dreams become who I am today. I'm feeling more alive in more important ways. Lost all ability to think for myself. I put it on the table, then you help yourself. Wow, wow. This place stinks of corruption. Shots fired confirm my assumption. Everyone is evil in their own special way. This advice I'm giving you today.
Welcome everybody, Mr. Childers here. When we left off in classical studies, and this is specifically speaking to my classical studies students in the year 2021, we were in the middle of book 21 of the Iliad. We broke for Christmas, and when we come back, just due to time constraints and the need to move forward after we lost a bunch of classes due to the great testing fiasco of December 2021, we're not going to be able to finish book 21 in any great depth. We're just going to have to watch the 3-minute Course Hero summary and plow forward into book 22 as we move toward the conclusion of the epic. I thought what I'd do is make this video for those of you who are interested in taking a more in-depth look at book 21 than we're going to be able to do in class. This video will basically present what I would have presented in class had we had the time to spend another full day on book 21. It also gives me some opportunity to test out some new video recording software, which should enable me to flow back and forth between showing what's in front of the camera and sharing screen and sharing sound just the way Zoom does, but not have to go through Zoom, and therefore hopefully end up with a higher quality product than Zoom produces, and not have to rely on the Wi-Fi in the school working. Of course, none of you care about any of that, so therefore please disregard the previous as we move forward. Just as we move forward, let's review. Just to review a tiny bit here. We know Achilles is back, and he's back with a vengeance, a literal vengeance. And we have learned, as we have watched him disembowel and behead and jab swords through people's eyes and cut their jaws off. And remember he cut the guy's head off so hard that that the bone marrow squirted out. We've learned that of all the things we can say about Achilles, whiny and pouty and spoiled and arrogant and blah, 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 overrated is not one of them. He is every bit the unstoppable killing machine that his fellow Achaeans and his enemy Trojans have always considered him to be. And where we left him, he was fighting along the banks of the Xanthus or Scamander River, and he had filled the river up with so much carnage, so much blood, so much death that the river itself got very upset with him, and the river itself rose up against him, to begging him to stop. And when he said, "I will not stop until every last Trojan is dead, or at least until Hector is dead," the river and Achilles fought. So by this point, we know that when Robert Fagles gave this book the title, Achilles Fights the River, it's not a metaphor. Achilles goes down to the river and says, "What's up? Fight me." And Achilles battles the friggin' river, as we see here in this beautiful image from Cynthia Balderrama. Of course, the river is also a god, and Achilles is a very powerful mortal, but still a mortal. And so the river gave him a run for his money. He was in grave danger of being drowned and being killed by the Scamander River. until Poseidon, who cannot make up his mind, I swear, Poseidon shifts sides back and forth between the Trojans and the Achaeans every 15 seconds. But in this particular 15 seconds, he's on the side of the Achaeans, and he helps Athena to rescue Achilles. But the Scamander's still going, still fighting, and Hera steps in, and Hera sends Hephaestus, god of fire, and also the great armorer of the Greek gods, the crippled god. Because, well, we've talked about this story a dozen times, but because as a baby, his mom took one look at him, said, "You know what, this baby's ugly," and threw him off a mountain. So he's eternally crippled, but he's also the god of fire. And so Hephaestus, the god of fire, rains down fire upon the river. Because, of course, if you're in a fight with the river and you want to win, you light the water on fire. So he lights the water on fire, and Scamander cries out, "Please, please stop, I relent, I give in. Well, I don't care enough about these mortals to continue this battle." And that's pretty much where we left off. We're going to pick up now. We're in book 21 and line 436. For first period, that'll be backtracking about 40 lines. That is where fifth period left off, and we'll just move forward through the rest of the book. If you need to pause the video to go grab your Iliad, I do recommend that you read along with me in the text. I'll give you a minute to do that. Can you believe those losers are actually going to read along in the Iliad instead of just chilling and watching the video? Oh, they're back. Okay, line 436. And now with the strength of Xanthus beaten down, the two called off their battle. Hera held them back, still enraged as she was, but now for total war. Bearing down on the other gods, disastrous, massive, their fighting fury blasted loose from opposing camps. The powers collided, a mammoth clash. The wide earth roared, and the arcing vault of heaven echoed round with trumpets. And Zeus heard the chaos throned on Olympus' heights, and laughed deep in his own great heart, delighted to see the gods engage in all-out conflict. They did not waste a moment, closed at once. Ares, stabber of shields, led off, charging Athena. Ares, I love that. He's not the stabber of men. He's a stabber of shields. And what happens when you stab a shield? Nothing, because the dude's got a shield. Ares, stabber of shields, led off, charging Athena, shaking his brazen spear, and dressed the goddess down. "You dogfly! Why drive the gods to battle once again with that stormy bluster driving your wild heart? Don't you recall the time you drove Tydides' son to spear me through? In all the eyes of all the world you seized his lance and rammed it home yourself, tearing into my rippling, deathless flesh. So now I think I'll pay you back for your outrage." With that he stabbed at her battle shield of storm, its dark tassels flaring, packing tremendous force. Not even Zeus's lightning bolt can break its front. Bloody Ares lunged at it now with giant lance, and Athena backed away, her powerful hand hefting a boulder off the plain, black, jagged, a ton weight that men in the old days planted there to mark off plowland. Pallas, remember that Pallas is another name for Athena. Pallas hurled that boundary stone at Ares, struck his neck, loosed his limbs, and down he crashed, and out over 7 acres sprawled the enormous god, and his mane dragged in the dust. His armor clashed around him. Want to make sure we catch something here. First period, we've already talked about it. So now the gods are at full-on battle with one another. The gods who support the Achaeans versus the gods who support the Trojans. So they've taken on physical form in order to be able to fight and injure each other. I want to make sure if we're reading too fast we wouldn't catch what just happened here. So we can picture in our mind what it really means when the gods are at battle. Look at this. Athena knocks down Ares and he falls, and look how it describes him when he falls. And down he crashed, and out over 7 acres sprawled the enormous god, and his mane dragged in the dust. Imagine you're either standing on the walls of Troy looking out, or you're back at the Achaean camp around the beaked fast ships, and in between you and your enemy, the gods are fighting, and they're as massive as more massive than skyscrapers. Ares, when he falls, takes up 7 acres. So Homer is painting a vivid and magnificent picture of divine warfare for us here. And if I can find my spot, we'll pick back up 460, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 466, 465, middle of the line. Athena laughed aloud, glorying over Ares, winging insults. Colossal fool! It never even occurred to you, not even now when you matched your strength with mine, just how much greater I claim to be than you. Now you feel the weight of your mother's curses. Hera plotted against you, Hera up in arms because you left the Achaean forces in the lurch and rushed to defend these reckless, headlong Trojans. The Trojans are real scumbags, aren't they? They don't want to let the Achilles and the Achaeans, rape their women and eat their babies and burn their city to the ground. How dare they? Triumphant Athena turned her shining eyes away, and Aphrodite, daughter of Zeus, took Ares' hand and led him off the field, racked with groans, barely able to gather. Sorry, I had a bit of a technical glitch there, and the video stopped recording sort of in the middle, but we'll pick up pretty much where we left off. We're at 470, 1, 2, 3, 4. Triumphant Athena turned her shining eyes away, and Aphrodite, daughter of Zeus, took Ares' hand and led him off the field, racked with groans, barely able to gather back his strength. But the white-armed Hera saw her move at once and winged Athena on. Just look at them there, daughter of Zeus, who shielded storm and thunder, tireless one Athena. There she goes again, that dog-fly, leading her man-destroying Ares clear of the rampage through the slaughter. After her, quick! Athena's heart leapt high. She charged at Aphrodite, overtook her, and beat her breasts with clenched fists. Down she sank with Ares, resistance quite dissolved. 2 immortals spread on the earth that rears us all, and Pallas Athena, trumpeting over them, winged exultations. Down you go! May all the gods who helped the Trojans fall as hard when they battle Argives armed for war. All as courageous, all as steadfast as Aphrodite when she sped to Ares' side and faced my fury. Then we'd have done with fighting long ago, razed the rugged walls of Troy and laid her waste. So Athena vaunted, and white-armed Hera smiled, but the mighty god of earthquakes, that's Poseidon, challenged Phoebus, the other name for Apollo. Apollo, why hold back from each other? It's not fair when the other gods have launched themselves in war. What disgrace for us to return without a fight to the bronze-floored house of Zeus on Mount Olympus. You lead off. You are the younger born, and I? It's wrong for me, since I have years on you, and I know the world much better. Fool, what short-lived memory you must have. Don't you remember? Have you forgotten, even now, all those troubles we suffered here alongside Troy? We alone of the gods, when Zeus dispatched us down to slave for proud Laomedon 1 whole year for stated wages. At that man's beck and call, we're going to take just a little bit of a jump. I'll just summarize a part right here. What Poseidon's doing is he's reminding Apollo of what happened a few generations ago. They had both got on the bad side of Zeus and attempted mutiny and attempted rebellion. And so as punishment, Zeus forced them to come down to earth and to be slaves of Laomedon, who was then the king of Troy. Laomedon is an ancestor of Priam. And Laomedon put them to work. And what sort of work did they do? Well, they built the walls of Troy. Why did they do that? Well, they were forced to. Here are these proud and mighty gods, and they're forced to be the servants of a mortal. One thing that Poseidon is still peeved about is that not only did Laomedon force gods to work for him, he then screwed them out of their paycheck. He never paid them the wages that they were promised. So what Poseidon's trying to do is trying to say, hey, you're fighting for Troy, but hey, you remember what the Trojans did to us? You remember what you love these mortals so much, but they didn't show us the respect due to us as gods. They put us to work. These hands aren't made for working. They're made for not working. Trademark. We'll put that on a t-shirt. And so Apollo agrees. He gives in. He's like, you know what? You're right. I got ahead of myself. I don't really care that much. Yeah, let's get out of here. There's no reason to fight. There's no reason to fight each other. So Apollo turns away, which catches the eye of his sister Artemis, the huntress, and she is none too happy with her brother for agreeing to stop the fight. And we're going to jump in now at 532, so which is page 535, line 532 of book 21. With that, Apollo, turned and left, filled with shame, to grapple his own father's brother hand to hand. But his sister Artemis, huntress, queen of beasts, inveighed against him now with stinging insults. So the deadly immortal archer runs for his dear life, turning over victory to Poseidon, total victory, giving him all the glory here without a fight. Why do you sport that bow, you spineless fool? It's worthless as the wind. Don't let me hear you boast in father's halls ever again, as you bragged among the gods till now, that you would fight Poseidon strength for strength. Not a word in reply to that from the archer god, but Zeus's regal consort Hera flew into rage at once, and her outburst raked the huntress Artemis, armed with arrows. How do you have the gall, you shameless bitch, to stand and fight me here? You and your archery. Zeus made you a lion against all women, true. He lets you kill off mothers in their labor. But you'll find it painful matching forces with me. Better to slaughter beasts on rocky mountain slopes and young deer in the wild than fight a higher goddess. But since you'd like a lesson in warfare, Artemis, just to learn to savor how much stronger I am when you engage my power, she broke off, her left hand seizing both wrists of the goddess, right hand stripping the bow and quiver off her shoulders. Hera boxed the huntress' ears with her own weapons, smiling broadly now as her victim writhed away and showering arrows scattered. Bursting into tears, the goddess slipped under her clutch like a wild dove that flies from a hawk's attack to a hollow rocky cleft, for it's not the quarry's destiny to be caught. So she fled in tears, her archery left on the spot. This Wonder Woman, all right? This Wonder Woman who just got her ears boxed and now is running away crying. But Hermes, the guide of souls and giant killer, reassured her mother Leto. Leto's the lover of Zeus, who's the mother of Apollo and Artemis. Nothing to fear. I'd never fight you, Leto. An uphill battle it is, trading bows with the wives of Zeus who rule the clouds. No, go boast to your heart's content and tell the gods you triumphed over me with your superhuman powers. It's like, I don't feel like it. You can tell them you won. I don't care. Leave me alone. So Leto gathered the reflex bow and arrows, scattered left and right in the swirling dust, and bearing her daughter's archery in her arms, withdrew from the field of battle, trailing Artemis. But now the huntress had reached Olympus' heights, and made her way to the bronze-floored house of Zeus, and down she sat in her father's lap, a young girl, sobbing, her deathless robe quivering around her body. You know, Artemis wasn't such a poor, sweet, scared, young little girl when she was drinking the blood out of the throat of Agamemnon's daughter, who she made him kill because, he shot a deer and made a wisecrack. But she's not so tough right now. But her father, Zeus, son of Cronus, hugged her tight, and giving a low, warm laugh, inquired gently, Who has abused you now, dear child? Tell me, who of the sons of heaven so unfeeling, cruel? Why, it's as if they caught you in public doing something wrong. Wreathed in flowers, the one who halloos the hunt, I love that, the one who halloos the hunt cried out at once, Your own wife, father, the white-armed Hera, he beat me. This strife, this warfare plaguing all the immortals, Hera's all to blame. You know why Hera doesn't like Artemis and Apollo? They're two of the many children of Zeus from many other women and goddesses and birds and creatures. And now as the powers wrangled back and forth, the Lord God Apollo entered holy Troy, filled with dread for the city's sturdy walls. What if the Argive forces stormed them down today, against the will of fate? The rest of the gods who live forever soon returned to Mount Olympus, some enraged, some in their proud new-won glory, and sat beside the Father, king of the black cloud. But Achilles slaughtered on and on, never pausing, killing Trojans and skittish battle teams at once, as smoke goes towering into the broad vaulting sky from a burning town, and the god's wrath drives it on, dealing struggle to all, to many searing grief. So Achilles dealt the Trojans struggle, grief. But there on the god-built height stood aged Priam. He saw the monstrous Achilles racing on before him, Trojans whipped in headlong flight, all rescue gone. The king cried out and clambered down to the ground from the high tower, issuing quick commands to veteran gateway guards beside the walls. Spread the gates wide, all hands now, till our routed troops can straggle back to Troy. Achilles swarms over them, they're stampeding. A terrible mauling's coming. I can see it now. Once they've packed in the walls and catch their breath, close the thick-set gates and bolt them tight again. I dread this murderous man. He'll burst right through our walls. They spread the gate and rammed the door bars back. And the spreading gates made way for a ray of hope as Phoebus Apollo himself hurtled forth to meet Achilles, to fight disaster off the Trojan troops. Heading straight for the city's lofty ramparts, ragged with thirst, choked with dust from the plain, they fled as Achilles stormed them, shaking his spear, that wild, rabid frenzy always gripping his heart, blazing to seize his glory. And then and there the Achaeans would have taken the lofty gates of Troy if Apollo had not driven Prince Agenor at them, Antenor's son, a courageous, rugged soldier. So here comes this Agenor. He's an ally of Troy, and as all the other Trojans are running, Agenor is still fighting, and he's holding off the Achaeans. Not to defeat them at this moment, just to provide coverage for the Trojans who are fleeing. So he's preventing the Achaeans from capitalizing on this and in getting in while the gates are open. He inspired his heart, Agenor inspired his heart with daring, standing near in person to beat away the dragging fates of death, leaning against an oak concealed in swirls of mist. And now, as soon as Agenor saw Achilles coming, that he inspired his heart, Apollo inspired Agenor's heart. All right, so he's giving him extra courage. But then, as soon as Agenor saw Achilles coming, there he stood, poised for the scourge of cities, while the heart inside him heaved with heavy seas, waiting, tense. He probed his own brave spirit. Dear God, if I run from Achilles' onslaught, taking the route the rest have fled, stampeding, he'll catch me even slow and slash my coward's throat. But if I leave my comrades panic before his charge, this Prince Achilles, slip away from the wall on foot and race the other way, out to Ilium's plain and reach the spurs of Ida, hide in the underbush, and then in the dying light, once I've washed my sweat away in the river, you don't want to be getting in that river today, Agenor. Once I've washed my sweat away in the river and found my place on this page again, yes, I just might make it back again to Troy. But why debate, my friend? He's talking to himself, and he calls himself my friend. Why debate, my friend? Why thrash things out? God forbid that Achilles sees me turning tail, heading from town and out to open country. He'll come after me full tilt. He'll come after me full tilt and run me down, and then no way to escape my death, my certain doom. Achilles is far too strong for any man on earth. Wait, what if I face him out before the walls? Surely his body can be pierced by bronze, even his. He has only one life, and people say he's mortal. It's only the son of Cronus handing him the glory. Filled with resolve, he, Agenor, braced, waiting Achilles, his warrior blood incensed. He'd fight to the death as a panther springs forth from her thicket. We haven't had one of these in a while. As a panther springs forth from her thicket lair to stand and face the huntsman. No fear in her heart, no thought of flight when she hears the baying packs. Even if he's too quick with spear or lunging sword, even if she's run through, she never slacks her fury until she's charged him hard or gone down fighting. And so the noble son of Antenor, brave Agenor, would never run until he tested Achilles. He steadied his shield before his chest, aimed his spear at the man, and flung this challenge. Surely you must have hoped with all your heart, great glorious Achilles, that you would raise the proud Trojan city this very day. You fool. It's war. If you gotta fight Achilles, I guess you gotta fight Achilles. But why do you want to trash talk Achilles? That's dumb. You know what? That's what they pay me for. Expert scholarly commentary like that is what I do for a living. So if you're taking notes, I'll repeat it for you a little more slowly. Why you gonna trash talk Achilles? That's dumb. This has been an education. All right, back to it. You fool! You would still have plenty of pain to suffer for her sake, Troy's sake. We have fighting men by the hundred still inside her, forming a wall before our loving parents, wives, and sons to defend Troy. Where you rush on to meet your doom, headlong man as you are, breakneck man of war. And Agenor hurled his sharp spear from a strong hand, a hard, true hit on Achilles' shin below the knee. Ooh, halfway there. But the tin of the fire-new armor around his leg let loose an unearthly ring. Dong! Back the spear sprang from the wondrous gear it struck, not punching through. The gift of the god Hephaestus blocked its force. Achilles next, he leapt at Prince Agenor, but Phoebus refused to let him seize the glory. He whisked Agenor off, wrapped in swirls of mist, and sped him out of the fighting safely on his way, and then with trickery kept Achilles off the Trojans. True, just like Agenor, head to foot, the deadly archer stood in Achilles' path, and Achilles sprang in chase, feet racing, coursing him far across the wheat fields, heading him out towards Scamander's whirling depths as the god led him a little, luring him on and on. Just a few lines ago, but I just want to make sure we can picture what's happening. Apollo has magicked Agenor out of danger's way. He's teleported him to safety, and now Apollo steps in. Remember, the gods are shapeshifters, and so Apollo has taken the form of Agenor. So Achilles doesn't realize that anything has changed. Achilles thinks he's chasing after this Trojan ally Agenor, but now he's chasing after Apollo. And Apollo is running in the direction of not Troy in order to protect Troy, because the role that Achilles is on now after a day like this, he just might do it. I mean, this just might have been the day that he brought down those walls. So they're chasing after each other, and let's finish out the book. 692. Achilles always hoping to catch the god with bursts of speed, but all the while the rest of the Trojans fled en masse, thrilled to reach the ramparts, crowding, swarming in, no daring left to remain outside the city walls and wait for each other, learn who made it through, who died in battle. No. In a driving rout they came streaming into Troy, any fighter whose racing legs could save his life. Now go like this. No looking at the title Robert Fagles decided to give the next book. We don't want any spoilers, so we have no idea what's going to happen next. But as we leave off, Achilles is running in the opposite direction. Achilles is running away from Troy, chasing after Apollo, who he thinks is the Trojan warrior, Trojan ally, Agenor. But don't think for a second, even though Achilles is going this way, that his mind is not back this way. That old mattress propped up against the wall in the background can represent the walls of Troy, and on the other side is Hector, the man who killed Achilles' lover. And Achilles is not forgotten about you, Hector. He's still coming for you. Will Hector survive? As long as we keep our hand over the beginning of the next page, we'll never know, at least not till the next lesson. But what we do know is that this video is done.